Hey, it's Erica from Oka Mama on Fire, and welcome back to my channel. I am late from when I initially wanted to start this live, so if you were waiting at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna hold on a little bit, see if anyone else joined me now that it's 1:48. I have been gone from these YouTube streets as far as creating content and kind of forgot how to actually use some of this stuff to do lives. So I had to get on a new streaming thing and all that stuff. So that can be starting fresh. Well, hopefully some of you will see my newest video that it came out this morning that shares my breast cancer diagnosis story. This will be a new series within my channel as I go through my breast cancer journey going forward. Because as we know, from at least if you don't know, now you know, it's a lifelong journey once you've been diagnosed with any form of cancer. So this will be my story. But this live video is meant to talk about my solo trip that I took during my year of me in 2023. And so I'm going to give you first, before I dig into how I was able to travel internationally for under $2,000 using points and travel hacking, I want to get to sharing how I even thought that could be a way to do something, right? Is to travel in that kind of a way. So I'm going to give you a little story time as we wait to see if anyone else joins us today in our live chat. So back in 2020 during the pandemic, I think like most of you, we all really were tuned in to YouTube because we were stuck at home, right? And just like watching TV, Netflix. Those who were able to work from home like I was, it was a huge blessing. But outside of that, I was on YouTube, it's like just like you. And during that time, I've learned about what's called now really kind of like the exodus of many, I'll say millennials or Black Americans of all ages in many respects to travel abroad, to live abroad, once this pandemic was over. That's how it was, I guess, in 2020, I'll say. And in watching those videos and seeing how women like me decided to leave the US. And so I was watching videos on different countries that may be really receptive to people of color. So I saw videos on like Mexico, on Portugal, Costa Rica, Belize, of course, countries in Africa like Rwanda, South Africa, Kenya. So several countries I saw and that were receptive to Americans who want to leave the US and make those countries their new home. So in the back of my mind, but also written down in my journals and things, I made it a mission of mine to be able to start my exploring of these different countries for where I eventually would want to go for my exodus from the U.S. one day to live abroad. Because as you all know too on my channel, I'm very much so focused on retiring early and financial independence. And how you can really reach that ability to retire early, it ties to your income, right? It ties to how much money you have saved, but also to how you intend to spend that money and where. Because in many spaces, in many countries, you can live like a king on a quarter of the price it would require to live that well in the US. So that's where I really began to my research, my journey, and thinking of, okay, what countries should I explore? And the one that came top on my list that I knew I had to get to one day once I was able was Portugal and also Spain. And I was able to visit Spain during that week, my week in Europe, my first international trip. I was able to visit both of those. But I want you all to know what led me to even selecting that country to first go visit and what continues to spur my interest of international travel and where I would go after that. Because at the end of the day, my goal is to retire early and live abroad with my family. Hopefully in 10, 15 years down the line, that's definitely still my goal. If I can do it earlier, Lord knows I will. But that's my long range goal, is to do so. Then, of course, in thinking of that, What country am I going to go to? And you got to scout to figure it out. You're not going to know what it is, where you should go until you go and explore. Because as you know, in watching YouTube videos, what works for one person, for one family, may not always work for you. You got to see how your spirit feels in those areas and all those things. And that's what I really found in doing this trip. So the seed was planted in 2020 that one day when I had the means to do so, either me or my family or some girlfriends, we're going to some of the countries that I mentioned earlier. And so when in a previous video, in my book, my video that said "Life be lifing," I mentioned how life was lifing since 2020, and was changing my goals of when I was able to go and do this big trip. And so, in taking this trip in 2023, which I declared as my year of me, and that was my 40th year, and my goal was to travel or at least have 4 trips my 40th year. So that was my big goal. And I turned 40 in October of 2022. So there's the scene. That's all set. So I turned 40 in October. I had planned to have 4 trips the year of my 40th year. And I met that and then some, actually. But my main thing was to do at least one international trip. And that's what I plan to go to Portugal and Spain. Now, how was I going to get there? On my minimal budget as a recent divorcee, I'm now a single mother, right? I have 1 child and I have bills, right? I got things I got to pay, responsibilities that I have, but yet I still want to meet these goals. So also on YouTube, which I absolutely love, are those travel hacking shows or travel hacking content, and how you can really utilize credit cards and their points and those awards to fund your dreams in some sense, or at least your trips, right? And so this is what I did. I actually utilized, and I planned this a year in advance. So that way I had the points when I need to use it. So again, the seed was planted in 2020 to go and explore these countries, right? In 2021, I actually got the credit cards that I want to use to maximize for points, so that way I can use it for a future trip. So the 2 credit cards I decided to use for my travel hacking journey and to get the most points and build my loyalty with these, I'll say, companies was the Delta American Express Platinum card, and then the Hilton Honors Aspire card. And this was one for businesses because I do have a business, and many of us are businesses, so you really should consider building that if that's the lane you're trying to create for yourself. But I got the business card version. Now, by getting these 2 credit cards, they had promotional points with them. Many of those promotions are if you spend, say, $3,000 in the first 90 days, you'll get those points. Now, for the Delta card, it was similar to that $3,000 spending mark, I believe it was. And I got like, 100,000, almost 80,000 points of miles that I was able to use in building that up. So that was the Delta card. With the Hilton Express or Hilton Honors card, it gave me 120,000 points that I can use towards hotel stays. And that was just by spending $3,000 over that 90-day period, and you were awarded those points. And of course, you use that card responsibly, you pay it off, and you do all those great, credit ways you should do when it comes to your cards. But that's what I did. And that was beginning in 2021. So of course, we weren't necessarily traveling that much yet. I wasn't ready to get back out there. But my goal was in my 40th year, I'm traveling, I'm getting out. So I was banking up those points along the way. Of course, every time you spend on those cards, you get more points on top of those promotional points that they give you every month to month as you pay the bill and utilize the card responsibly. And that's what I did. And so during that time, I had 120,000. Actually, by the time it was for me to go for my trip and plan my 4 trips for that year, I had around 140,000 points available to me for hotel stays. And let me tell you how I maximize those things. So I used many of those hotel points to stay within the U.S. I did travel within the U.S. as well. But for this trip in particular, for my Portugal and Spain trip, I used my points to pay for those hotels. All I had to do was just check in with my Hilton card for my incidentals, but the hotel was paid by points. So right there, that saved me an immense amount of money in planning my trip for international trip to Portugal. So I had the pleasure of staying at these three hotels. And I just want to give a plug to them because they were so beautiful. And again, I'm a big Hilton fan. So I only ride with Hilton. But how I planned my trip was that I flew into Lisbon, Portugal, and how my flight plan worked. I went from Jacksonville to New York, straight to Lisbon. And now, of course, that was just my Hilton. I was talking about my hotel. For my flight component, I used my Delta. Now, what I was able to do with Delta, I did not even use my points. My points I used for my Delta flight was used towards other trips I had within the US. What I end up doing is a great hack that I'm sharing with you today is doing those searches on Google Flights and also, oh my goodness, I can't think now of this other, maybe Hopper it was, where you can check to see when are the best dates to fly for the lowest price for the plane. And so you plug in your desired flight plan. So for me, I want to go to Portugal. My ideal month to go was in March, February, March timeframe. I want to go, maybe April, but it's still low season in March. So I really want to go within February, March. So I plugged in those points, and the miracle of a computer, it came. I got an alert of specific dates where the flight from where I lived to Portugal, and this was a round trip flight, was only $494. Yes, you can pause on that one. International flight from where I lived in Florida to Lisbon, round trip, was only $494 by using those hacks of searching for knowing your flight plan goals and then being open to the date. I didn't have a set date. It was more so if it was cheaper for me to fly out on a Tuesday, which in that case it was, and come back on a Tuesday, because I knew for sure I wanted a full week there in Europe, at least a full week. And that's what I did. So by using those apps, it turned out I left on February 28th, 2023. And then I returned on March 7th. It was March 7th that I returned. And how that works out is because, you're changing time zones and all those things. So that's why it was still 7 days actual there experiencing it. But it seems like it was longer when you hear those dates. But February 28th, which actually it's a pretty right. It's the last day of that month. But either way, that was my trip week that I went. And that was the cheapest week for me to go. So key point I will share with you all, use those hacks of using those sites to find the cheapest days to fly on your desired flight plan. So that's the key for that one. So I still have my points for Delta. I use them for different trips that I will share later down the line of those trips, but I want to give you that big hint there. So again, only paid $494 for a round trip ticket from Florida to Lisbon in 2023. Couldn't be beat. Now you may be saying, okay, that's all well and good, $494, but where were you sitting? Right? You probably care about that. Okay. No, did I get first class? No. Did I have what I love so much, Comfort Plus? No, I did not get Comfort Plus. The type of ticket I had was the basic economy. And how I looked at that was that, okay, basic economy, I'm on the plane. So it kind of comes back to people's preferences. For me, as long as I'm on the plane, we're all getting to the same destination. I'm cool with it. Now, my one bad thing was I had a regular basic economy seat where I was sitting like in the back of the plane, wherever else. But then I saw there was a seat open in the exit aisle. So I was like, oh, can I get that seat? And thankfully they gave me the exit aisle. That was not a good idea. It is an 8-hour flight you're taking. And with the exit seat that I had, unfortunately, it was not a really good reclining type of exit seat. And I was freezing my butt off. Like the AC was like coming at me hard. I'm like, Lord, I'm not trying to get sick as soon as I get there. Thankfully, they gave me a blanket. You get a pillow. They still give you a really great food on the flight. And like I was saying, hey, I had a basic economy ticket, but I still got really good with the food. They fed me dinner, lunch. My flight started that night. So they gave me dinner that night, snacks, and then also breakfast that morning once we arrived into Portugal. So to me, if you want to get to somewhere, don't be afraid of those basic economy tickets, okay? Now, my one big plus was that even though I had basic economy, I still was a Delta Platinum card holder, okay? And so by having that card, I was able to still get my bags checked for free. Because, if you don't have that, usually with basic economy, you got to pay for your bags. But not me, because I'm a loyal client of Delta. So my bags flew free. And you want to be able to do that, especially, because you want to carry a nice big old carry-on, not check bag, so that way you can really bring your, souvenirs back and give your looks you want to give and all that. You want to have that available to you. So that I totally did. And so that's my perks plus on that. So if you're able to find a good deal by doing those hacks of looking at those sites to see where you can find the best deal, then if it's a loyalty card, find an airline that you love and trust and build that relationship. That's all I can say. For me, it's all about the Sky Miles life. That's what I'm about. Okay. So I'm a big fan of Delta, and they always resolve issues if you have them. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Delta. What can you do? Like, it's the best, in my humble opinion. And that is, I am not no sponsored person. I just love Delta. So that's where I go for the flights. Now, we'll transition to now I'm there in Portugal. What did I do? So I had booked, again, using my points that I had with Hilton Honors. And so my goal was to fly into Portugal, catch a train to Porto, which is like northern city from Lisbon, experience Porto for 2 days, and then fly over from Porto to Sevilla, Spain, enjoy Sevilla, Spain for 2 days, and then fly into Lisbon again, stay in Lisbon for 2 more days, and then head on back to the US. And so how I did that, I booked my hotels with Hilton points. So I arrived into Portugal. I was able to easily navigate their airport. I got on their train. Like, they have a metro system right next to the train. Absolutely amazing and easy to read and deal with. And even before that, I just love the beauty and the architecture and the diversity of Lisbon. It's everything. Like, I absolutely love it. I see why it's ranked one of the top countries of people who are wanting to migrate into Europe, and why I see many Black Americans choosing Portugal as their place to be. It's where it's at, no doubt. And one day I will be there for much longer than a week. I'll just say that. So I go into their metro system. I'm familiar with metro systems and how they work. I lived in DC for 12 years. So definitely an easy thing for me to experience and know what to do. So I did that. So I took that train, the metro, to the actual train depot where you go to actually get on the tram, like a train trail station to get on. That would take me the beautiful scenic view of a train ride to Porto. Oh, absolutely amazing. Now, the cost for these things, the metro, it was I gotta say about $4 US even to get on that metro, to take the stop I had to take to get to the actual train station. The train ride itself from Lisbon to Porto, that was $30 for that train. This was a 4-hour train ride, by the way. I did buy the business economy or the business class seating. So that way I got access to Wi-Fi if I needed it, or really great view, just comfortable. You have your seats and the beautiful window view. So that's the kind of ticket I had going into to Porto. So I get to Porto. The stop there is Porto Campania, was the stop I took, and from there I was just took in the beautiful views, got into a cab, and took me to my hotel. So the hotel I stayed at was called the Saint Cathedral, and let me go ahead and pull this up the right name because it's absolutely amazing. And let's see, stays past. All right, here we go. All right. It was called the Say Cathedral Hotel Porto, the Tapestry Collection by Hilton. So it's one of those boutique type of hotels, and it was absolutely beautiful and amazing. I'm going to show you some photos at the end of my talk with you today, just so you can get a little glimpse of how beautiful it was in the surrounding areas. The food was absolutely amazing. The drinks were amazing. So again, I paid for this hotel for those 2 nights with points. So when I came in to check in, I just had to have my card there for incidentals, which I used for like the room service dinner that I had, then dinner inside of their actual restaurant I had too. So that was absolutely amazing. Now, again, being that I'm a Hilton business Aspire card, American Express card holder, it gives you little extra perks as well. So in staying there, I got breakfast for free on my card. Hello, money savings. That's what we do. And then somebody really had to just pay for like my dinner and the room service I had the other night there. So when I actually checked out of that lovely hotel, my bill was like $80. Like that was it. Like as far as US for my hotel bill, and that's what I thought for the incidentals that I had, drinks and dinner and all those things. Those 2 days I was there. So that was that hotel. Then while I was there in Porto, of course, I just took in the scenes. I walked the streets of beautiful cobblestone and the architecture, absolutely amazing and beautiful. So I definitely welcome questions about my trip and what I saw and all those things. But this main video's purpose is to discuss the travel hacking travel hacking that I did and how it was traveling by myself. Now, as a solo traveler, it went amazingly well. Like I was not, bothered by anybody, wasn't approached by anybody, never felt unsafe in Portugal in any means of my time away abroad that I experienced anything but good things. Now, of course, we always got to be self-aware. We got to look at our surroundings and all those things. And I definitely did that. I wasn't out in the middle of the night either. I'm not like a streetwalker in that way. It's like I was home in my bed, by 10:30, 11, at least, and really probably before that, but more like 9:30. I was back home, just because it's how I am. I'm a homebody anyway, but especially in some places I don't know. Now I was out late one night because I actually met a new good friend, and I recommend this too as a travel hack if you're traveling solo. Connect with those travel groups in the country that you're going to, because that's what I did. So there was a group on Facebook for Black women in Portugal, Black women traveling solo. Like there's so many groups out there for us to connect with. So I put it out there. Hi, I'm coming to Portugal on these dates. I'm going to be in this city on these dates. Anybody would like to meet up and hang out? Love to have lunch or dinner with you or wherever else, get some drinks. And in doing that, I met great people while away. So even though I traveled there by myself, I wasn't going there by myself in that sense, because I had people already expecting me. We were chatting on WhatsApp, all those things. So that way I had somebody there to expect me, and know that I'm there. Of course, my family knew, my loved ones knew where I was, but having someone else there who can actually take you around and give you some insights about the cities and all that is absolutely amazing. So mark that down as a travel hack. Connect with people in the country or city you're going to, so that way they can expect you. And what better than having a personal tour and meeting a new friend? And that's what I did when I was there in Portugal. So that's one hack there in Porto. So we had an amazing dinner. Great restaurants. Again, the food is absolutely amazing. Now, I can say, the food was great. I'll say the food is good. We have always have different taste buds, and what things are good to you may not be good to me, and the same thing. But I definitely enjoyed it. It didn't feel like I tasted anything bland or something. So they had some seasonings. It was definitely good. So that was my experience there in Porto. And then it was time for me to fly into Sevilla. So when I checked out that wonderful hotel that again was paid for by points, I took now their version of Uber Lyft is called Bolt. And I learned that by chatting with a friend who I met on Facebook who knows Portugal, who's like, download the app of Bolt, use them for your transport within the city. It's much less than a taxi and all those things. So I utilized Bolt to get to the airport in Porto. And that's what I did. The cost of that, $7 US. Okay. So very affordable. And then I took my flight at the airport. Let me tell you, it was absolutely beautiful airport, clean lines, easy to navigate through customs and all those things. And I got onto my flight. So there is an airline called TAP within Portugal, Spain, and they have frequent flights going from Spain to Portugal. Now, TAP, some people may say that's their version of Spirit. I don't know, or their version of Southwest, or one of the lower category, I guess you can say, airlines. TAP was good to me. I only paid $49, $50 for my actual flight because it was in that country and it's in time and probably the place and the time and all that. Very affordable flight for one way. So round trip, when you add tax and all those kind of things, my flight was 137 from my trip from Porto to Sevilla, Spain, then from Sevilla, Spain to Lisbon. So as you can see, it was like a multi-city type of airplane. But that was round trip for my TAP. Okay. So there you go. Easy flight, good seats. It was like an hour flight. It wasn't even that long. Then I get over to Sevilla. So for some reason, once I land in Spain, definitely it's a different vibe compared to Portugal. Now, being a solo Black woman there in Spain was a little interesting. I feel like I definitely feel like the eyes were there, on me. And unfortunately, I got to get sick. So I drank some water, and this was like a bottled water at that, but it did not agree with my stomach at all. I didn't even make it out the airport and I was puking. I mean, I made it just in time to the bathroom at the airport. Got it on my shirt and all the gross things, because I'm at the baggage claim trying to get my bag. Okay. And thankfully I got my bag in time before my stomach got off. But I made it to the bathroom and did all those things. Had to change my shirt and all those things. And not one person in that airport in Sevilla, Spain checked on me. I mean, because I know I was like, I'm heard. I know you hear me. I know you hear to see this. Is this person going through this? And not one person even tried to offer any kind of help. But God is good. I made it through. So then from there, I took a boat. Is also there in Spain. So I used boat to take me to the airport to my new hotel in Sevilla, Spain. So where I stayed there was the Hilton Garden Inn, Sevilla. Get on points, no money out my pocket. I only had to pay for my incidentals there. Now, when I arrived at that hotel, that staff was so sweet and they treated me so well. I told them how I'm not feeling well. No, I got there early before check-in. Normal check-in time, of course, is 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I got there. It was around probably 1 o'clock, or not even 1, 12. It was lunchtime kind of area. But I was like, if you have a room ready, please help me. And thankfully they assisted and got me into a room, got me some ginger ale. And at that point I learned that it was Coke is supposed to be really good, but was really good for your upset stomach. So that did definitely help bring me down. But I was in that room all night. Okay. I got some soup sent to the room, that kind of thing. Could even do that. But apparently there was some kind of bug flying around in Sevilla that people catch. It was a 1-day stomach bug I'm like, I am determined. I'm only here for 2 days. I'm going to go see me some flamenco. I'm going to experience what I came here to experience. Okay. And also, prior to coming to Sevilla, Spain, guess what I did? Okay. One of my favorite YouTube families that I see who are Black from Florida, just like me, who relocated and live now in Sevilla, Spain. I reached out to them on YouTube. I sent them an email and said, "Hey, I'm coming to Sevilla, Spain. I would love to meet up with you if I'm there. I mean, if you're able to meet." I have a son with autism, and she has a son with autism as well, and 2 other children. And their channel, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to link their channel in the once this is posted on my page. Of course, I go blank now that I'm talking to you. But their family I absolutely love. And so I had planned to meet with them. Like they knew I was there in Sevilla. She knew that I was sick. She said, give me an idea. Like, yeah, drink the Coke, and just settle your stomach, all those kind of things. And so I had people expecting me there. So again, being a solo traveler, yeah, I traveled there by myself, but I was not going to be by myself the whole time, which was actually a true blessing. I'm so glad I planned it that way. So that's definitely the biggest travel hack I can share for those traveling solo. To not truly be alone, connect with people that are already there before you get there. So that way you can find a little community there. So once I made through my first night there, which is like in that room the whole time, that my next day and my last day, full day there, I was able to go to like the Flamenco Museum, had that whole experience was amazing. Again, also some pictures at the end. And then I met up with that family, her husband, her, and her sister at a restaurant there in Sevilla. Now in Spain, when you talk about those siesta times, it is not a joke. That city gets live after 9 p.m. I never had dinner at 10 p.m. like the schedule, like, come on, let's go meet for dinner at 10. I'm like, 10? Who have dinner at 10? That's late. I should be in bed. I'm 40. But yeah, so I met them at 10 p.m. for dinner and drinks. And I tell you that it was kids out there. The buses were out there with people. So much bustle and just liveliness going on at 10 p.m. at night. Like they get down. Great restaurant. And I also learned that rum helps with your stomach too. I had a really good drink and that helped with my stomach as well. And I was able to actually eat and keep it down. Hallelujah. So that was a great experience there in Sevilla, Spain. I would definitely visit again. But if I had to rank them, Portugal is where it's love it. So after I left Sevilla, Spain, for that one, I checked out. My hotel was paid for with points. Only had incidentals, and that was like $30. So again, I couldn't eat that much there. All I had was soda, and I had breakfast was free. That's built in. And then the soup that I had the night before, so that was nice and easy. So that was that trip and how I point hacked my way through that. And a nice blessing was the family that I met there. They had paid for my dinner. So the girl got dinner for free there too. So I was really able to stay under my budget of overall $2,000 spent for this solo trip. So now I take the boat from the hotel there in Sevilla, Spain, back to the airport. I'm headed back to Portugal. And how I was feeling was like, get me out of here, get me back to Portugal where I live. Just because I was feeling sick there and I didn't feel like, as far as the people were that friendly, but I was glad I had another Black family there to connect with while I was there, which made my time there fun. And I really did enjoy the museum. The Flamenco Museum was absolutely amazing. To learn the history of flamenco and the roots of it, pretty amazing stuff. So I enjoyed my time there. Beautiful architecture. That was the best part, was the architecture, and seeing that at night, how it was lit, just gorgeous. Just something you just never see here in the US. It's amazing to be a part of that history that you see. But now I'm on the plane, I'm on tap, back to Lisbon, and get to the airport. And now I'm feeling like, yes, I'm this international woman. I can do this thing. And so, and my friend who I met in Porto, she was also going to be in Lisbon. And she had a friend she wanted me to introduce me to that was there in Lisbon. So my agenda got full very quick. So I land back in Lisbon. I take a taxi this time because it was a little bit easier, onto my hotel. The hotel I stayed while I'm in Lisbon was the DoubleTree by Hilton Lisbon Fontana Park. Fontana Park is like right there in the midst of so much great popping things going on in Lisbon. Beautiful like stores and restaurants, and just a gorgeous walkable area to be staying at. So definitely would recommend all three of these hotels if you ever have the same type of itinerary. Again, stay there on points. I had to check in with my card for incidentals, and got my key and went on in. Absolutely beautiful room, a nice view, somewhat of the area of Fontana Park. And I went out to the street and began to walk and see the area and all that. And that night, I had dinner at the restaurant at the hotel, because I like to do that for my first nights when I stay somewhere, just to get a sense of, I mean, if they have a restaurant, of course, and depending on how it is and all that. But they had a really great, highly recommended restaurant inside of that DoubleTree. So the food was amazing. Like I said, no complaints on the food at all in Portugal. Had a really great drink with it. Just had a nice slow first night there. And that way, for my next full day in that city, I like to get out and explore. And of course, that's when I met up with my friend, and got to see some other parts of the city with her, and just take it all in and enjoy. So when it's time for me to check out and head on back to the US, pay for my incidentals. Again, that was like $50. Wasn't even that much. I think it was maybe 60 was my incidental cost for the food that I got. Hotel paid by points. And then I caught a bolt back onto the airport. And thankfully their customs process, their check-in was easy as well. And I was back on my basic economy flight. I did try to get upgrades, but sometimes there can be real sticklers on that one, depending on their full flight and all that. Given I was flying there's a nonstop flight from Portugal to New York. It was a pretty full flight, so I wasn't able to get that. But this time I learned I did not get a, what do you call it? I get a exit row. I sat in the back just fine, got a window seat, which was good. Still got all my great amenities of like the food and all those things as I normally would anyway on the plane. And there's nobody in the middle, so I was always sweet. And it was a good old flight back home to the US. And that, and hopefully in a record 37 minutes, was how I was able to travel hack solo trip for under 2K to Portugal and Spain. So just to recap how I did it, I planned ahead at least a year. I utilized the credit card points promotions to help pay for my hotel stay. I used an app to find the best time, dates, and all that to find a flight to go for the lowest price possible. And that was a big key one. And then another one was to connect with people in the country or city you're going to through Facebook, so that way you can meet someone while you're there and not truly be solo. So when you fly there by yourself, but you're not going to be alone once you're there. So those are what I definitely recommend you to do if you want to do the same. I have more trips in mind to plan. That's for sure. That really just infused my love of international travel. So I can't wait to do it again. My goal is to do one international trip a year, at least. But I want to do 4 trips every year. So, and that may include going to, of course, a US city, a different US city. It may include a cruise. It may include a lot of things, but I definitely want to do at least one international trip a year and use these hacking tactics to do it. So hopefully you found this video and live helpful and how you can do the same. So I'm now going to try something new. So I want you to bear with me, but I want to share some of these great photos with you of my trip and see if I'm able to do it. Alrighty. And it looks like these may not be in any kind of nice order. So I'm gonna just explain it to you as you see them. Oh, that doesn't make it easy for me. Let me see if I can find it this way. Okay, I'm just going to share this with you because I think this might be the best way and the easiest way. Let me go here. And let me scroll a little bit down. Oh, come on, computer. Okay, so I'm going to share this one with you guys. Let me see how I can share my screen. And let's try it. Present. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Share. Alrighty. So hopefully you all are now seeing in short this slideshow. Now this is only showing the city that I stayed at in Porto. So it's not giving me the best shots ever. But as I begin to learn how to better do lives and share video with you, share pictures, it'll get better. But that's just something for you to see a little bit there. And in a future video I'm going to do, I'll be able to show a better, more comprehensive slideshow picture of my my trip. So I thank you for listening. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Please do leave comments in the check. A check would be nice, but leave comments in the chat about how this live may have been helpful for you. And ask me your questions about your travel. Please do send me some hacking tips as well. I look forward to engaging with you more around this topic. So you have a blessed day and thanks for tuning in. Okay, bye.